And welcome back. It's New Comic Book Day. Thanks to everyone who stopped by for local comic shop day. It's just a string of events this past month. And don't forget that Saturday I will be walking in the Hydrocephalus Association's Philadelphia Walk to End Hydrocephalus. Donations are still being accepted. There are still active raffles for you to get chances for if you donate. Anything you can do to help is muchly appreciated. Muchly, I like that word. But for now, new comics. Absolute Evil. This is, of course, connected to DC's Absolute line, and there are a bunch of covers, which, may come as a surprise. There are a couple that are themed for individual series, but then there are a couple that didn't get any. This is sort of a catch-all cover, and then there's a shiny version of that. So I'm not sure what all they were thinking with those variants, but each of you that gets any absolute title will have one of these aside for you. If you choose not to take it, that's totally fine. Adventure Time. That's a regular issue of the current series. And then Adventure Time, the Bubbling College Special. Archie's Halloween Spectacular. I know I haven't been doing as much Archie lately, so the specials kind of stick out. New Avengers. Batman #2. If I didn't make it clear, I enjoyed the first issue immensely, and I am looking forward to reading this issue. So many covers, but I like it. It's the shiny of the main one. Also, I enjoy this cover, which is essentially Robin in place of Batman from the first issue's cover. So, very nice. Two-Face gets a collection for his recent miniseries, Trial Separation. Birds of Prey. Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, book 3. I believe that completes that series of collections. Carnage, that's a modern epic collection in the series of those lately. Cheetah and Cheshire rob the Justice League. And I love this cover by Gerald Perel. I'm kind of surprised. I feel like that's not totally his normal vibe, but I love it. So DC's Satanic Panic, which is adorable. It's their big chunky seasonal special. There's 3 covers there. And Disney has done for Pixar's Inside Out 2 these nice little hardcovers: Anxiety, Embarrassment, Joy, and Sadness. Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Club Final Face Off. It's a new book in that series. All right, so I've been had. This is a G.I. Joe special, of course, for Cold Slither. It is a sort of sequel to the cartoon series episode for Cold Slither, for those of us that are old enough to remember. And there are actually 2 covers. When originally solicited, I thought this did connect to the Energon Universe stuff. And then after I finalized my orders, it was clear that it does not. It very much tries to vibe with the cartoon series, not even a real American hero, even though it's sort of a more modern story to go with the old animated series. But I will not be setting aside any of these for any of my G.I. Joe people. If you are interested, please let me know, and I will get one for you. Godzilla. Yeah, I'm stuck on G.I. Joe. Godzilla versus the Marvel Universe. This collects the one-shots of Godzilla versus the individual teams or characters. And then Godzilla gets a new miniseries, Starship Godzilla. Gotham Academy First Year, revisiting Gotham Academy again. And there's 2 covers there. It's been a while. Absolute Green Lantern. And 2 covers there. Hyde Street gets a collection. It collects the first couple of issues of the current series. Justice League, the Omega Act Special. This fits into the ongoing Justice League story and is a prelude to DC's KO miniseries coming up, which is sort of a line-wide event sort of thing related to the return of Darkseid. And of course, there are a couple of covers, and who knows how that story idea is going to go. JSA, Justice Society. Lumberjanes gets a new collection in the thicker book format. It's been a while since I've had Lumberjanes on the shelf, so that's good. Poison Ivy. And a couple of covers here with a little glare. And part of DC's fall-themed covers. Red Hulk, still part of One World Under Doom. Rocketeer, it's a gross cover, but very well done. Rook Exodus, Something is Killing the Children. Sonic the Hedgehog on the Go, Volume 1. That's a smaller format collection for older Sonic stories. Speed Racer. Spider-Boy Facsimile Edition. This is from the Marvel DC Amalgam Comics event a billion years ago with Mike Wieringo art. This is a bunch of fun. It's not terribly important, but it is kind of exactly what sort of 90s comics, fun 90s comics were. Amazing Spider-Man, with a small connection to Imperial, that series that nobody's really interested in. Spider-Man Noir gets a collection. Includes like 2 of his miniseries and then a bunch of appearances in other things to get you ready for a new miniseries. And 2 covers. And 3 covers. Spirits of Violence. I think that's a one-shot, but I could be mistaken. I can't remember the details. Star Trek Red Shirts. Star Trek Voyager Omnibus. This collects 2 Voyager miniseries and then 2 short stories from other things. Star Wars. And 2 covers there. Stranger Things Dungeons and Dragons, The Rise of Hellfire. This collects that recent miniseries. Absolute Superman. And 2 covers there. Adventures of Superman, the Book of L. That might be the last one of those on the shelf. Teen Titans Go. Umbrella Academy. Venom. And we've switched back to Legacy numbering again for issue 250. Walking Dead Deluxe. Warriors graphic novel, volume 3. White Tiger Reborn. Ultimate Wolverine. X-Men Age of Revelation Overture. This is the beginning of this big story, which sort of emulates how Age of Apocalypse was done, again back in the 90s. And there's a bunch of covers there. But it fits into current X-Men storylines. Not to be confused with X-Men of Apocalypse. And then Ultimate X-Men. And I got a couple of extra things this week. Stay with me here. And another throwback to the 90s, a new Venom poster. This is the cover from what became known as Lethal Protector. This was the first Venom miniseries and the first cover. Unfortunately, all of the background black was red on that issue. It was red foil. I would have preferred that this poster had red as the background, even though we couldn't do foil in a poster format. But still, pretty cool, old school Venom, as a lot of people think of him. So that's a fun poster to have. And then 2 versions of the second volume of the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero compendiums from Skybound, but reprinting the Marvel comics. This is, of course, a cover by Kubert, and it covers like the next chunk of Real American Hero. The yearbooks were G.I. Joe's annuals, like most comics, and Special Missions was a second series that debuted after issue 50 of G.I. Joe. Again, just some of my favorite stuff ever, and I don't care what you think about that because it is my thing. Also, I cannot overemphasize how Michael Golden covers on G.I. Joe, how much they make me happy. Michael, of course, has done a fair amount of comic book stuff over the years. And there's a look and feel to his faces and just everything. But he brought so much theatrics to the covers of some G.I. Joe issues that maybe didn't have quite those theatrics on the inside. And I very much loved seeing those covers. And the G.I. Joe yearbook, which this cover of this compendium comes from, I believe that's the one that the lead story, he actually did the interior art, and it is so much stupid fun. There's something about those days that still just makes me very happy. That is everything for this week. If you see something you like, let me know. I'll try and get it for you. Of course, the sooner the better. And subscribers, do your best. A couple of you have slipped. I've had to let a couple others go recently. I would prefer not to have to do too much more of that. And again, donations are still being accepted. First Friday is Friday night, and I will be running the raffles at least through Friday night. So any help you can give is great. And it doesn't matter if it's monetary or you can share things. I like it all. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon.